Again at the PDAC 2024, biggest mining show in the world, and we're talking to a company that's had a big and transformative year 2023, and that's formerly Tembo Gold, now Lake Victoria Gold. We're here with the Simon Benstead, CFO of the company, and we're here to get an update on what's going to happen 2024. But before we do that, please give us a heads up or a recap. What happened last year? What did you do?
Yeah, thanks, Bjorn. So, I mean, you say that 2023 was a transformative year for the company. There's no question that it was. In fact, the company was completely repositioned. So, as you mentioned, we changed our name from Tembo to Lake Victoria Gold. And really, the process and the thinking there was that, as we're expanding our efforts in Tanzania, that Tembo no longer really reflected what we were doing on a broader scale. Tembo was an exciting project and probably one of the more interesting and really as good as it gets from a perspective of an exploration asset. But we started to feel like we were being a victim of that punitive process of raise money, dilute, drill, repeat. And, we really wanted to give, shareholders a different journey to embark upon. And this is when we made this acquisition of the Imwelo project, which is a fully permitted mining license. And, our intention is to get that into production sometime in the next 10 to 12 months. I mentioned a complete name change. It's more than just a name change. It's really a repositioning of the company. So, as I said, we've gone from being a one asset exploration story to really, a development company with a goal of having, a broad spectrum of opportunities for shareholders. So, of course, we're still very excited about the Tembo project. Tembo means elephant in Swahili. We're certainly looking for the elephant in elephant country. But I think that this is a more interesting sort of, more interesting on the risk spectrum with an asset that we'll be bringing into production. It sort of insulates us from, the punishing effects of most juniors, where you have to always be, getting back to the market and the rest of it. So, just to summarize, so 2023, as I said, we did the name change. I'm now executive chairman in addition to being CFO. Mark Cernovich is now CEO. He's one of the founding shareholders of Tembo. And Seth Dickinson is now our COO. He was the leader and CEO of the asset that we acquired called Imwelo. And probably, the most important thing that happened in 2023 was our alignment with the Taifa Group, which is owned by Rostam Aziz, the richest and most influential man in Tanzania. So he's now a strategic partner, operating in any jurisdiction in the world, but particularly in Africa. It's really, really important to have, a local partner who can help navigate, the unique landscape of any jurisdiction.
And not only that, he also has some deep pockets, I think you made an investment. Well, what's the total amount? It's invested in tranches, I think. Right?
Yeah. So we signed a binding term sheet with him last August, which called for three investments. The first one, which we closed in November, was approximately $3.5 million. He purchased 16 million shares at 22 cents. The next tranche is 16 million shares at 24 cents, which is triggered when the transaction for the acquisition of Imwelo closes in Tanzania. To refresh, the viewers here as to what that process looks like, it's three stages. The first is approval by the Fairness and Competition Committee. Second is TRA, which is the Tanzanian Revenue Authority, and then finally, you get a stamp from the ministry, which essentially allows for the transfer of the license. We're well into that process. We understand that process because we essentially went through it in reverse when we sold our non-core licenses to Barrick about a year and a half ago. So, we've hired all the same lawyers, we've hired all the same, experts and specialists, and we're very comfortable with that process, and we expect that, to close sometime in the next 60 days.
Okay, so that's not that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the first quarter will be closed by then, over by then. So that's the process you're going through. You have the right people, you're pushing it forward. but still that's not entirely in your control. But at the same time, are you already working on the property, bringing in, or on the project, bringing in long lead items? What have you?
We are. I mean, like we're so confident that this is, going to go smoothly that we're effectively acting as if we already own the asset. So Seth is now our COO. He's the COO of Lake Victoria Gold. He's on the ground. He's a mining engineer. He's the one who essentially is going to be, building the plant and shepherding the process to get us into production. So we're really comfortable with that process. I think that viewers may know, because I think we press released it, that for example, we've put a deposit down on a ball mill. Some of these long lead items that require 6 months sort of advance notice in order to get things going. So we've done that. We've been advancing things on the ground at the project. So we're really comfortable with how that's progressing.
Okay, thank you. So that's the one thing. You've got the Imwelo and still also the Tembo project, of course, but we've been talking about repositioning, so that's not a focus only on Imwelo, but I think more on a regional play, also consolidation strategy. Can you explain a bit?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bjorn, because, and again, like the reason why we changed the name to Lake Victoria Gold is because there are so many interesting opportunities in Tanzania, in arguably the most prolific, underexplored greenstone belt in the world. We're seeing lots of really interesting opportunities in country because, over the last 4 or 5 years, things weren't, say, 4 or 5 years ago, things weren't that great in Tanzania. Under the previous leadership, there was some challenges. There was the dispute between the government and Barrick, but all that's been resolved. The mining legislation has been rewritten. Barrick is by far the biggest contributor to the Tanzanian treasury. The new leader of Tanzania, who's been in power for about 2 years, she's incredibly revered by her people. They call her Mama quite affectionately. And she seems to have a really, like a natural instinct to say and do the right things to attract international capital and expertise. So, Lake Victoria Gold, with our very unique perspective and experience in country, it gives us a unique lens into what's happening on the ground. We have an exceptionally experienced team on the ground, and we are looking at other opportunities because we really want to grow, develop, consolidate, projects that would fly under the radar of the majors. But if we can go in there, clean them up, consolidate them, and potentially create value, and then end up flipping something to the seniors, that's sort of the strategy. But ideally, Imwelo gets into production. We're planning to expand it in year 3, but at the same time, looking to advance other projects as well, so that, year 4, year 5, we ideally are a 60 to 80,000 ounce a year producer, and, which gets us a little bit of attention.
Yeah, certainly should. Also because if gold continues as it has been in the last couple of days, that certainly should help also revive a bit of interest in the sector as a whole. As I understand, your CEO is in Tanzania as we speak, working on all these kind of things. Or?
Yeah, that's correct, Bjorn. So Mark and I sort of have divided, responsibilities this week, with me at PDAC manning our booth and taking meetings. It's been really nice. I've met, several of our shareholders who have come by to say hello. Mark is in Tanzania this week with Seth and with David Scott, the former CEO of Tembo, who's now really focused on managing things in country and focused on geology. He's an exceptionally experienced geologist. So Mark's over there taking some meetings, and I think there'll be some developments to report to shareholders in the not too distant future.
Certainly glad to hear that. Thank you very much, and then we look forward to events unfolding. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Bjorn.